Hi, welcome to Jeff's 5 for June 18th, 2015. So one of the cool things that's been going on lately that I'm not sure I've talked about on the show is that my book, Flipping for Him, which came out back in February, is about to come out as an audiobook a little later this month. I've been working with the voiceover artist, Jason Frazier, on the production of the book. I've been proofing the audiobook during this week, and all looks well that it's actually going to become available by the end of the month. You can check the eye icon up top, and you can actually go over and listen to the first 5 minutes of the first chapter to kind of hear how it's coming along. It's been really cool having a professional voiceover artist read my work, although it'll be daunting anytime I have to do a reading again, kind of knowing how it sounds with the professional reader tackling the material as opposed to just how I would read it, which is a lot more, not as performance based. I'm really excited for the book to come out in audio. This is my first go around at having an audio book, and I'm kind of excited that it's Flipping for Him that's the first one, since it's really a book that I put through the entire publishing process myself. Anyway, I'll keep everybody posted as to when that book comes out. It should be out by the end of the month on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. Speaking of writing, another big thing that happened over the weekend is that I finished the first draft for Hat Trick 3. It's been a long time coming. It took me a lot longer to write this one than it did the second book, although not as long as the first book, because the first book was really a protracted process, being the very first long-form book that I ever attempted. 3 has been an interesting journey, initially biting off more than I could chew within the realm of one book in the plot. Going through ripping out a lot of material that I may use for another book at some other point that'll be slightly adjacent to the current Hat Trick universe. I've started editing and doing some proofing and some revising in order to get it ready for my beta readers. But so far I like what I've got now. Hopefully I'll feel that way by the time I get done with revisions. Currently targeting a September release for the book, so I'll have more on that as the summer progresses, because the book is actually due into the publisher by the end of July to make that date, so keep your fingers crossed on that one. I mentioned 2 episodes ago that I'd signed a contract for a new short story, maybe a novella, depends on what you want to call an 18,000 word story, with JMS Books, who is also the publisher of my Hat Trick series. I've got some stuff I could preview for you now, so if you check the eye icon, you'll be able to hop over to my website and see the cover and even read a little bit of the first chapter, so you can get a little preview of what Heatwave Tuscaloosa is actually like. It's kind of fun writing about the place where I did most of my time growing up, because I was in Tuscaloosa from 5th grade through a couple years after college. Certainly nothing that's in this book happened to me, but it's set in and around the city, talks about some of the stuff in the city, favorite places that I've tended to go over time. Nothing in it actually ever happened to me, but it's a nice steamy summer read, I think, and it's actually part of the Heatwave series that JMS Books is doing, which will be, I think it's more than a dozen individual stories that will take place all over the world where there's a heat wave going on over the summer. So I'll have more on those books as they get ready to come out. My specific one comes out in the middle of August, and hope you'll pick that one up if you're inclined to have that kind of steamy summer read. Also, back at the beginning of the month, I told you I was reading Bill Konigsberg's Porcupine of Truth, and how I was very enthralled with the first 20% or so that I'd read at that point. I actually finished the book a week or so ago, but didn't talk about it last week because of the Pride edition of the 5. Definitely a book you need to read. The way that he's mixing this road trip with a coming of age story with a little bit of a mystery was really enthralling. The last act of the book in particular I thought was some of the most powerful writing that he's done. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to get spoilery. I was very pleased that I allowed myself to kind of uncover what was happening as the main character did, so I wasn't trying to outthink what was actually happening. So it really provided a nice emotional impact as the main character kind of found out what was going on and pieced everything together. Very heartwarming, very funny. It's a great book, highly recommend it, and you can see a full review of mine up in the eye icon linking over to my website. So my obsession with So You Think You Could Dance is in full swing. This week they were in LA for auditions. I admit I tend to skip big pieces of the audition sequences. I don't need to hear everybody's story. Some of the dancers just don't engage me in the audition process, particularly the weaker ones that they're going to cast off anyway. But there's certainly been some outstanding people at the auditions. Detroit proved to be really full of talent this year. Los Angeles from this week, also just incredible. Up in the Icon, linking to a playlist I put together of two particular ballet dancers who were featured this week. Just extraordinary stuff, and I hope at least one of them, if not both of them, makes it through past Vegas, because they both got invited to Vegas. Check out the videos that I linked up to. You actually get their whole package, so you get their story and their dance and their judges' remarks. The stories are good if you want to listen to those, or just buzz along on the clips so you can watch the individual dances, because they were very impressive. Looking forward to the show getting to Vegas. I think in another week or two. I know next week is New York auditions, and I'm not sure if there's another audition episode ahead of that. But July, once they get to Vegas, is going to be really interesting to see how this stage versus street team concept starts to play out. And then, of course, live shows will start sometime in July, running through September. So don't be surprised if at least one piece of the 5 starts to talk about this every week, as well as linking up to some whatever the best dances are from that week as well. So that's the 5 for this week. Next week, I'm going to actually have an external microphone hooked up to this camera, and that should increase my audio quality significantly, and mean that I have to mess with it less in iTunes and possibly have less hissy sound going on as well. So look forward to that. At least I do. Hopefully you guys do as well. As always, there are links below the video on YouTube and on my blog, places to go to check out things that I talked about on the show this week. Definitely leave comments if you'd like, and see you back here next week.